The monster that Elsa made herself, not only did it woo and play sports with her husband, but it also made Elsa play sports with it. A few months ago, it all began. Elsa wants to be a scientist. She and Kerry work together in a lab. They were looking at how people and animals share genes. But halfway through the study, it had to be stopped because it was against the rules. They didn't want to give up. At Elsa's request, they kept working on their tests in secret, without telling their boss. After many failed attempts, the gene pairing finally worked. They stopped doing their jobs to focus on the project. Even worse, they took turns calling in sick to take care of the unborn baby. A co-worker saw something strange and came to ask what it was. But Kerry wasn't honest with him. In the laboratory, the baby grew and changed at a very fast rate. After just a few days, it was almost ready to be born. They ran to the lab to give birth to the baby, but Elsa was bitten by the thing inside when she tried to open the door. Elsa was stuck behind a window, but Kerry was quick enough to break it so she could get out. But the monster had already cut her arm. She fell to the ground with her mouth foaming and her body shaking. Kerry runs to give Elsa a shot of serum, and she gets better. Elsa puts on a safety suit. She cuts open the egg to see what's inside. But it's empty, she says. Behind her, a monster with a bird's body and a rabbit's head jumps out. When it sees Elsa, it runs away and hides in a corner. Elsa sees how sad it looks and starts to feel sorry for it. Kerry tries to stop her, but she takes off her safety gear and approaches it anyway. Kerry thought she was crazy when she did that to try to gain its trust. He tried to stop her, but Elsa didn't listen. After all, if they did find it, it would be the most important find in the book of Genesis. So, they got the monster to grow up. They chased her around and fed her. They put her in a dress and made her look like a pretty girl. But it wasn't long before the monster, which at first seemed shy and harmless, showed its true terrible nature. What do you get if you put a person and an animal together? A monster that has parts of both people and animals. It not only has human wants and needs, but it also keeps its animal nature. This is called hunting. Elsa played with him in the lab that day to see how smart she was. In the kitchen, she played Scrabble with her. Elsa asked her what her name was spelled. But not only did the monster do it quickly, he also did it well. And came up with other words. This made Elsa happy. She was excited to show Kerry what she had done. Like a mother putting her child on display. Kerry told her not to let her feelings get in the way. It was just something to try out. They fought. The monster snuck out when it had the chance. It saw a co-worker standing at the door. Immediately, the animal in her comes out, and she pounces on him with her teeth open. Elsa was so quick to tell her off that she stopped moving. She even hid in the corner out of anger, but her friend was still scared and ran away. Kerry asks him for help keeping it a secret. If the trial works, everyone would be better off. When they got back to the lab, the monster was sick with a fever. If Kerry hadn't stopped her, Elsa would have taken it to the hospital. They were so worried that they thought of using physical cooling. They put it in a pool of cold water. The water was making the monster choke. Kerry tried to kill the thing as soon as he could. He pushed it into the tub and tried to drown it, but the monster fought for a few seconds. It got used to being underwater. It even learned to breathe easily underwater. This proved what they already thought. It could change into a fish or frog. This was another very important find. But it didn't last long. Because a past trial went wrong. The lab had to close because their bosses had to. The next day, they sent someone to clean it up. Overnight, Elsa had to move the monster. Taking it to a faraway place. Taking a look at the strange surroundings, the monster felt sad right away. It got away and ran into the woods. They looked for it with a flashlight. The creature's mouth was full of blood when they found it. There are dead rabbits all over the ground. Then they realized how bad the situation was. He had been unfaithful to his wife. He was doing games with his own kid. Even more crazy is that his daughter wasn't even a person. She is part person and part animal. Since they saw the monster eat raw rabbit, they have been scared. Elsa has blocked off the edges of the building so that it can't go anywhere. but this action destroys their friendship. The monster stopped hanging out with Elsa and started to like Kerry in an odd way. It starts to dress up and dance close to Kerry to get his attention. And Elsa knows something isn't right. She looks at the monster's drawing book. She finds that it only has pictures of Kerry and none of herself. She thought at first that it was just bias. But it wasn't long before the monster lost his anger and ran out through the roof. They ran up to the roof after him. The monster slipped and was about to fall, but it grew wings in the air. It flaps its wings and gets ready to take flight. Kerry ran up to him and asked him to stay. In no time, the monster agreed and gave Kerry a hug. Elsa couldn't believe it. When did they start getting along so well? Kerry didn't know why he felt so conflicted about the monster. When he looks at its face, he always thinks of Elsa. Kerry tried to get away from it, but the monster picked him up. Kerry suddenly lost control and was playing sports on the floor with the monster. This is right when Elsa gets home and can see it. She was so scared by their inappropriate behavior that she left right away. Kerry ran after him to tell him why. He then saw that it turned out that during the biological tests, Elsa had injected some of her own genes, which made the monster look a bit like her. After that, they decided to go back and kill the creature, but what they didn't expect was that before they could do that, the creature escaped. It was too late to save the monster. Elsa cried out in pain as she looked at the child she had raised herself. Then they dug a hole to bury it, but they didn't realize how strong the monster was, so it came back to life before the hole was even dug. It had not only grown bigger and faster, but it had also turned from a female to a boy. It jumped on Elsa and pinned her to the ground. Kerry, who was a little late, forced Elsa to play sports with him. He then used a wooden stick to hit the monster in the back. But it still didn't kill it. Instead, the monster's tail killed him. In the end, Elsa is the one who kills the monster. But in the meantime, she gave birth to a whole new life. Share your thoughts in the comments, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.